Boop, 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 boop. Morning, evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. So here I am at this new place, and they have pretty good food. So you're the owner?
Owner.
Hi, owner.
How?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I was given this check, and that's what I expect to pay.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, but they've taken this check and charged it on my credit card. So there's a substantial difference of about $4 between these two. This is what, and I wasn't told this is what I had to pay. I was told this is what I had to pay.
Well, you know what?
What
I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'll make the difference. We'll take it off you,
That's what I got.
and we'll be done. All right?
Yeah, sounds like that. So
All right.
that's making me do it because I do like your place. You have pretty good food.
Yeah. I mean, I will. I mean,
That's
you
all.
understand.
That's all you got to do.
Right. I'll do it. You did eat the food. I'll do it.
I appreciate it. That's all you got. Anyway, so so here we are at this transition in time. I just see people constantly. So that's one of the owners, and he made a command decision, which is a good one. The patron should be made happy. Now, within the dynamics of politics and etc., usually doesn't happen. The citizen is never kept happy, right? And the thing in Ukraine is just another useless exhibit of what it is, right? What is it, We live on a planet that is a garden of Eden. That's so Derek. How you doing, buddy? Enjoying the coffee? Yep. Well, things are always going good. They are what they are. Thing is to be in the moment and not cajole about the past, right? And not to worry about the future. Do your best in the moment, right? So here I am. And here's a new place. It has Wi-Fi. Pretty good. I can go on, talk to you. Oh, I guess it was Wednesday, yesterday maybe. I forget what day it is. And so, hey there, Janie. I was in a coffee shop. I had Wi-Fi and I had pretty good. I could look at YouTube. I could do all kinds of things, but they wouldn't let you do a live chat. And thank you. Anyway, so it was interesting that that I was at this place and it wouldn't let you do it live chat. So I said to manager, right? I said, owner, okay, guy came down. And it's like this owner. I mean, he's doing the dishes. That's usually the owner. The owner, if he's there and no one's doing the job, he has to do it, right? So the guy said, I'm sorry to say this, and this was in a town called Elizabethton. It's about 50 miles from my house. And I just happened to be there because I was going to go see this mechanic who's pretty good. I mean, you can trust what he's doing, and he will do what he says he's going to do, and he charges you a price that's reasonable. So anyway, I went to, I made an appointment. I went there, and they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, Wednesday. He goes, "No, that's next week." That really is a telltale sign of me. So he said, "I wrote it out on a card." I said, "I lost it twice." So he writes it out again. He goes, "Now put this on your visor." Which I did, and it's right in front of me. So now I know where it is, and there it is. So that's me, right? But So I was already in that town. So I said, let's go look at downtown. It's like being revitalized. And so I went and looked at it. And it was as dead as a doornail, but it was like The Walking Dead was in there. There were, places that were full of junk, and they called it a thrift store. But I had a place that had, all of this stuff that was supposed to be like a tourist, whoop-de-doo mountain thing. And it was just candy, popcorn, and ice cream. And the ice cream was not green. It was like, the freezer was like so cold because they don't serve too much ice cream. So they want to freeze it so it's gonna last forever. And the guys got these little plastic spoons to try and give you a taste, and the plastic spoon keeps breaking, right? So the manager just goes, ugh, walks over there and takes a metal spoon and takes it, and it bends. That's how frozen it was. So I tasted it. I said, the thing is, ice cream is called ice cream for a reason. It's supposed to be smooth and yummy, and this is like a brick. And all I can taste is the sugar crystals frozen. I don't taste any flavor I don't have any sensation except, my tongue is frozen to my palate, and they were very upset. Well, this is new reason we just tried again. I said, no, you don't sell too much ice cream, so you're freezing it solid. And the lady who's manager owner, she's kind of like this. It's like, and that's, that goes all the way up to what's going on in Ukraine. It's like a bait and switch. That's why I kind of made a deal about this, because I've been watching. So, a lot of people, again, everybody can come to, the dudeawake42 at Gmail, and I'll respond. Now, it takes me some time. I have I have to go. I have all my whole electronic world is like right all over the place, because I had everything all lined up, all the different things, and then my phone, the charger broke on the inside, I had to have it fixed. My laptop, the same thing happened with it. So when they were fixed, they were taken down, put back up, and they're like, I don't know who I am. So it's made it even more difficult. So I have to put all the different codes back in them. I can, everything's, my screen, it's either bright white with gray letters or bright, dark black with blue letters. So it's either way, I can't read it. So you guys, I'm not making excuses, but I'm kind of giving you a slice from Al's life. So I live in the moment. So whenever anything happens, I deal with it right then and there. Months ago, I was staying with a friend of mine, and her husband died, and she's a kind of leader. She's always the person who's helping other people be getting their life back together. So no one knew how to get her life back together. And I basically said, listen, why don't you let me just come? I mean, there are all these things that your husband used. Her husband was Mr. Fix-It, right? She was, yes, I'm doing it. I'm taking care of the world. But he could fix it, right? But he would never fix it for good. He would fix it a little bit so it worked, so it could break again, and it could give his reason for being there validity, right? And so he dies. So there's nobody, he never, before he died, fixed everything so it'd be fine. So her heat didn't work, or this didn't work, or that didn't work. And it's like cruising into, it's like November. So why don't you go spend, as much time as you want with your kids? They live in Minnesota, near Nevada, kind of near Las Vegas, right? Where it's warm all the time. And anyway, so she goes, that's a good idea. So she does that, and I take care of the animals, take care of this, take care of that. I get everything back to working and fixed, right? And so I spent a month there. And so it's close enough to Roanoke. When I went to all my Cadillac doctors, they did all the big time. And they said, you are the amazing kid, that you're sick as a dog, you should be dead, but because you keep yourself in homeostasis, balance, your body's doing okay. All of those, blood pressure, cholesterol, blah, 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 sits, all of that was, my blood pressure went, when I was really sick, it was about 210 over 90. And now it's, 118 over, 50 or something like that. And my cholesterol is everything is good. Some things are excellent. Right? My thyroid's excellent. My acids, meaning the level of what kind of infection. I have all these arthritis. I have all these things that cause inflammation, that cause infection. And when you have Charcot and diabetes and neuropathy, that's what makes you lose your legs. And, I still come. So that all occurs because I'm in the moment and I'm aware of my 360, conscious of my 360, conscious of my 20. And I don't, go on about the past, and I don't worry about the future. I'm just doing my best in the moment. And that's what this is about. That's what life is about. All these seeming catastrophes are just lessons for us to learn how to live in the moment and do our best. Right now, humanity's not doing too good a job of that. Right? So, that's about it. And what else can I say? So, I can say thank you. Thank you for everyone who sends me that little bit to the PayPal. Really, really thank you. There's 4 of you that are religious, right? And you have no money. I can tell. You send me 5 here, 10 there, 15, 20, no more than 20. Now, there are a few of you who do have money and do send me 50 or 70 or 100, whatever. Right? And I really appreciate it all. But those people who are religious that I can kind of depend on, but it's nice to depend on people. It's interesting. My neighbor, my 2 neighbors, and one guy who's like, police captain and war hero, helicopter pilot, just, amazing American. But he has his authoritarian point of view. But I like him because he's kind of open-minded. He likes me. He considers me a friend. I'm always like being there for him. And so he likes that, right? I give him, the pointers on how to deal with people and stuff like that. And he says it's helped him a great deal. So that's great. Right? Then my other neighborhood, who's like a spinning top. He can never move. He just can't stop. And but I had to go get my eyes operated on last week. And, it's 40 miles away. And when they do this procedure, I'm basically blind. So he picks me up. I said, can you do it? He goes, yeah. Why don't you find somebody else? It's going to cost me money. Anyway, so I said, I'll look on the cushions. So I give him like, $23 worth of quarters, nickels, and dimes. And he actually showed up on time, and he and his wife drove me there, left me at the eye hospital, and then they went and explored the city of Johnson City. I had a great time, right? And so they came back and got me, gave them a call, said, okay, I'm done, and I'm blind, right? So, first they dilate your eyes, and then they do this other thing in the back of your eyes, so you can't see anything. It's like more like a Matisse painting, right? Or somebody who did pointillism, right? So, and I got these like welder glasses on, and I got my cane. So I come out, and they could drive in because I have a thing, then come the front door, then coming over, so if it's raining, it'll get wet. And the road comes up. Anyway, so they're waiting at the parking lot. I can't see them. And I'm like waving my arm, and they beat the horn. And so I go like this, and they beat the horn. And I wait there, 2 or 3 minutes in the blinding light. I can't see anything. So I'm like, click, and I bump into a post, and then I almost blow up and they come, oh, look, you can't see. No. It's like And I'd say, do this, and they beat the horn a little more. So it's like, finding them. I get in the car, and they said, what were you doing? I said, I can't see. That's why you came. That's why you drove me here. I can't see. Oh, you can see. He said, well, this is a pretty objective point of view from my eyeball. I can't see. There's, you can see. So I get in the car. And they want to go back into Town City because I used to live there. So they ate a lot, and they wanted to eat more. Said what's our interest? I said, so what do you eat? Oh, it's ice cream. And then we had coffee, and then we had Danish, and then we had this Indian restaurant. I said, isn't that enough? Oh no, we wanted to. So I said, well, this is a great Mexican restaurant. Let's go there. And I couldn't tell them how to get there. I just had to get the thing, and she had the magic box. And they went there, and it was like, yeah, okay. So we park, and they're out. They're like halfway down the block. I'm still trying to get out of the car. Anyway, this kid comes over. He goes, "Sir, you okay?" And I said, "I'm kind of blind. I can't see." He goes, well, "What about your friends?" I said, "Well, good luck with that." And so he says, "Let me help you." So he helped me out of the car, closed the door. He puts his arm under my arm, and he laid, after. And the guy goes, "Well, what are you doing, guy? We're not going to give me any money." And it was like just the most amusing thing. So we kind of walked around, and the kid, like, once he got me up to them, expecting them to put their arm out, but no, they still walked ahead of me. It was like, and I kept bumping into things, but I had my blind person cane. And again, this policeman came over when I was trying to cross the street, and it was pretty traffic oriented. And he goes, "Why aren't your friends helping you?" I said, "What kind of friends do you have?" I said, they're my neighbors. It's great that they drove me here. I got my eyes, I give him the whole story. We start talking. I read his palm, and he goes, "How can you read my palm and you can't see?" Because you were right on. I said, "No, well, I'm seeing different things." Anyway, we're kind of there in front of the Indian place, and hey, and so the policeman walks me across the street and walks me to the Indian restaurant. He kind of does this to us, and they just turn around and walk in. And the policeman opens up my door and says, "Sir, this will stick with me for the rest of my life." I said, "Good." I went in there, and they're it's a buffet, so they are it's towards the end of the buffet, and so they clean out all of the trays and sit down, and you got that much food. And they go, "Aren't you going to eat anything?" I said, "No." I said, all the money I have in my pocket, it's going into your gas tank. I have no money. "Oh, well, but no." And they, "Oh, good, more for us." And so, so I go back for seconds and thirds, and then the trays are all done, and lunch is over at 2:00. And so he goes over there and he takes the lid and starts hitting it with a metal thing. "More food." And the people who are still eating in the restaurant are like looking at him like, "What?" The owner comes over, "Sir, lunch is finished at 2:00. He goes, "I'm not done. I want more food." And they have a little altercation. And so he goes, "Oh, I'm not going to pay." And he goes, "Sir, you've eaten the food." I mean, I at least paid. I paid what they told me it was. And then they said, "Oh, we made a mistake, and we want you to pay $4 more." And I said, "No, because this is the check, So he said, "Okay." I mean, my waitress, "No." And the manager said, "No." And then the owner said, "Okay, you're right. Okay, just one charge of that." I said, "Okay." But anyway, so all of this is a real reflection of what's going on in Ukraine. Except instead of someone just hitting the metal pan, "My food," there's hundreds of thousands of people going, "We're starving." So I have, people who I've worked for and other people who, what I've done, and they get a hold of me. Again, you want to get a hold of me, the dudeawake42 at Gmail. It may take some time because I haven't really drawn all the threads together. So anyway, so that's kind of, and everyone has, they see something. And so 7 years ago, well, I think it was, 2016 before the election, like, December, or maybe it might have been before, like in December. No, I think it was before the election, November, but it was still wintry cold in Roanoke, right? And so it was 2016. It was 2016, but in November, right? So I was working at this church. I was the action coordinator, and I had this thing called Action Tuesday, meaning any group, any individual want to have a lecture or do something positive, it was yours. And I'd make a big pot of soup and make some bread, right? And in the church we had an amazing kitchen. So, and they had one of those bread machines. It's great. You just, it says how much water, how much this, how much that. You just dump it in there, close the lid, push the button, and it mixes it up. And heats and warms it up a bit, and then lets it rise, and then bakes it. And it's like the rice cooker, right? It always makes perfect bread, and the better ingredients you put in, the better bread is. So anyway, Action Tuesday, that was make a big kind of goulash and a really good dark bread and hot coffee and hot tea, right? And so we had these girls come on from the Ukraine, and they both were schooled in the Russian thing. They're both rocket scientists, but one of the rocket scientists, her discipline was psychology, propaganda, mind control. And she wanted to advertise. After the ball, she started advertising. She was getting pretty good pay as a Russian scientist, and she, during Glasnost, had invested in things out there in the West when she could before the real fall. And then when the real fall happened, she and her girlfriend split. And her girlfriend was a engineer, a drafts person, so she was really an artist. So they came to New York. The draft girl, she actually took off when they got there in the late 90s. And she made a lot of money and bought a loft and bought this. And the other girl, who was smart on investment, invested. And so, the art girl was making it big. The brain control girl was, just making the investments. And then when they made a lot, she went back to Ukraine and bought a lot of real estate, in Odessa. She bought a couple of douches on the coast, right? And a big building, in the main drag, right where the square is in Odessa. Building there, she bought it. She turned it into apartments and her office. And it was a really big building. And it went up 3 or 4 floors. And then there were 6 more floors, but they were 2 separate things. And there was an airspace in between this. Back in the day when this building was built, there was no air conditioning. So, that was, ventilation. So one were apartments and the other were offices. Right? So she was pretty good. So she had her advertising thing. And so she's doing all this. And one of her little neighborhoods of advertising was political. Right? But she, did advertising for everything. And so so Manafort shows up. And he starts rearranging the politics of the Ukraine. And he facilitates 6 new media outlets that are radio, newspaper, and TV. And they are like, one's kind of like CNN, one's kind of like MSNBC, one's kind of like Fox, one's kind of like, so he creates these different silos of political thing and just focuses on that. This is what's happening. This was like, and she's seeing this happen. And then she sees the politics, because Ukraine basically had the old timers, in the Loudhouse and the leftover Nazis. Because when the Nazis came in there were a number of Ukrainians that said, good, you're going to get rid of the commies. Good. Then there were the commie folk, and then there were the people who wanted to, wear leather and drive Audis and be part of the, their fish wanted to be part of the EU, right? And so this was building up, and all of this happened, in 2000 and It started happening in 2008 and came to a culmination in 2014 before Donnie was elected. And so she came, and the election hadn't happened. And she and her friend traveling all around America, trying to wake Americans up. Hey, if you don't watch out, what's happened to us is going to happen to you. And it's a perfect example. It is exactly that. And like yesterday, this week, I was listening to, Judge, what's her name, being harassed and questioned for, being the Supreme Court judge. And if anyone, the last one, Barbie, Southern Baptist Barbie, who is now on there. If you see her, she's the white Clarence Thomas. You hear nothing from her, and she has written nothing. And but she is, voted on the things that are sharply reactionary, neocon, and so it's and one of those senators pretty if you had, I would suggest to everyone to go to NPR and go to a place where they have those hearings, because they put it in their server and you can go listen to it and watch it because they videotape it too. And there was this, I forgot which, it was Wednesday, yesterday, between noon and 1 p.m., the senator, and he wanted to ask her what she thought about how the different arms of our government, our democratic republic, is being captured. Like we have the best legislators money can buy, all our institutions, all the things like OSHA and every element that's supposed to protect us is being captured by corporations, and the EPA, you name it, it's just been totally decapitated. So, and that's happening to the court, and with Judge Roberts, starting off, and then the other three South puppets they got in there, and the other two that were already there, Clarence Thomas and the other one, they now have a 6-3 majority. So that's what gets. So, the Supreme Court allowed corporations to have a political right. Corporations have the same constitutional rights that individuals have, but they're corporations, right? So they can do everything right? So they can mouth off, they can do all kinds of things, right? And so then they were allowed to donate money, right? Then they were allowed to donate unlimited amounts of money. And then they were allowed to donate unlimited amounts of money that were, no one could check who gave what, right? So we now have a government, the best government that money can buy. And that's exactly what happened to Ukraine. And you seeing what's happened to Ukraine? We're on that list. And so is Russia. That's why this is happening. This is to get rid of the United States, Russia, and China. So we can have a globalist society, and Davos crowd, unelected and total control, and wipe out 3/4 of the population. So when I go on about it, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Well, I say, what do I always say? Don't believe a word I say. Check it out for yourself. I'm just giving you, little pointers, right? So, anyway, so that's it. A message from On the Bob. I hope you're all doing good. I have things to do. And maybe, what time is it now? 12:30. So maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock, I might come back and say, hey, how you doing? Okay? Okay.